Imagine spending your life perfecting the art of cricket, working your way through juniors, playing representative, fighting through different grades, and finally making it to the professional scene. Then imagine the experience and skills gained through representing your state, your country, and different T20 domestic teams against the best players in the world for over a decade, just for a 14-year-old who probably had to get a permission slip just to play the game, smack a 35-ball century. This is not a joke. A 14-year-old has just hit the second fastest century in India's domestic T20 history. We actually might be watching the T20 version of Tendulkar. Just quickly before we move on, there is something important I want to note, but I'm not going to harp on about it. I'm not looking for sympathy or anything like that. But as most of you probably know, I'm sure most of you are caught up, but there's been a lot of news recently surrounding India's domestic T20 competition, and there's been a huge crackdown on copyright and what is kind of fair use and what is not fair use, and they've become a lot more strict this year. I'm sure you've seen big names such as the Grade Cricketer have to take down a lot of their content around India's domestic T20 league, and obviously they aren't the only ones affected. It's a worldwide crackdown, and there have been a few uploads of mine that has been affected as well. So to keep a long story short, there will be no footage of India's domestic T20 league in my videos anymore. There won't be any screen grab. Unfortunately, you're just gonna have to put up with my face a lot more. Anyway, let's move on. And before I lose my mind talking about Suryavanshi, I guess I should probably try and take this game on in chronological order. So let me try and get the image of a 14-year-old hitting India's opening bowler in the BGT, Mohammad Siraj, for 6. And Ishant Sharma, the legend with over 100 tests, has been involved in every single season getting smashed by a 14-year-old. I feel like this isn't real, but let's try push this to the side for a second and talk about Gujarat just quickly, and especially because their top 3 has been immense. And even though they lost this game, I still think they batted excellently again. So leading into this game, I heard a stat that I'm probably going to repeat wrongly, so don't quote me exactly, but I think it was something about 75% of the runs scored by Gujarat have been scored from the top 3, which I guess can tell you 2 stories. First, it's obvious that Sudarshan, Gill, and Butler are just flying at the moment. I mean, they complement each other so well. They run hard together. They can all score quickly. But then I guess on the other hand, there has been the argument that if those 3 don't get going, then they're going to lose the game. If it wasn't for at least 2 of the 3 scoring big runs pretty much every game, then Gujarat will be getting smoked. And I've been seeing a lot of that online. When you look at the stats, it's easy to take a quick glance and see that the lower order hasn't really been performing. They haven't scored as many runs, their averages are low. But I think it's actually a credit to Gujarat and their top 3. If you look at most of their games, they are barely losing wickets. And when they do lose the wickets, it's usually in the last couple of overs when you want the middle order to come in and just throw the bat at everything. I mean, a lot of teams have struggled, and Rajasthan, who we'll talk about later, have really struggled to push the rate at the end of the innings, or they lose too many wickets early when they're trying to push the rate. So it almost nullifies attacking at the start, because then they have so little wickets to play with that they can't push at the end. I mean, really my only critique against Gujarat for this game is the bowling. I think walking off the field, they would have been happy with 209 and confident that they could defend that. Which brings me to 14-year-old Vaibhav Suryavanshi, whose name I'm probably going to say wrong 20 times this video, so I just want to get my apologies out here. But he is absolutely blowing my mind, even though I've been following him pretty closely compared to your average Australian cricket fan. So I had a few messages around 6 months ago to take a look at this guy because he was breaking records in juniors and he looked like the next big thing. I saw that he had hit 300 in under-19s match, and then he had also just hit 100 off 58 against Australia in the under-19s, which made him the youngest player to score 100 in youth cricket. So this alone is impressive. I mean, the fact that you have, he was 13 at the time as well, so the fact that you have 13-year-olds, I might have made a video on this actually, but I think I did. The fact that you have a 13-year-old scoring 100 against 19-year-olds, that in itself is just freakish behavior, and that really put him on my radar. At the same time, as impressive as this is, there are so many players that absolutely carve it up in youth competitions, but they just don't manage to break through to seniors. But then he signed with Rajasthan for about 200,000 Australian. And that's when I realized that he must be next level, because once again, like I said, when you're playing youth, you're involved in that youth scene, you might get taken on tour as a net bowler, you might go to some high performance centers, you play in all these youth tournaments, etc. But for a club to actually fork out 200,000 in a bidding war, mind you, a few teams were bidding, instantly made me realize how much he was valued by India. And obviously they have seen some freakish stuff. Obviously in these high performance centers, they've seen something. But even then, you still don't think it's possible for a kid that has just turned 14-year-old a month ago, not like he's about to turn 15, he has just turned 14, could turn up and hit a century against some of the top bowlers in the world. Even when it came to this signing, even though I know, like, you don't fork out $200,000 Australian, like, that is enough money to put a deposit on a house. Maybe not in Sydney, you might get a shoebox in Sydney, but that is a lot of money to fork out on a player. But even then I was like, is this a publicity stunt? Like, there is no way a 14-year-old is actually going to go out and play against men, let alone do well. I thought maybe he comes in as an impact sub that bats 8 but doesn't actually play. But no, what, 3-4 games in, he scores the second fastest century in India's domestic T20 history. I mean, one thing I can't even wrap my head around is how does a 14-year-old even have the strength to hit a ball coming at him at 140 Ks? I mean, fair enough, a lot of them were flicks off the legs or maybe across the line, kind of using a bit of the pace, but he played a straight drive over the bowler's head for 6. He's just turned 14. He's probably not even gone through puberty yet. It's like I'm playing Cricket 24 player career mode on the easiest difficulty. I think this innings will obviously send him into instant stardom if there wasn't already enough hype about him, but every single cricket fan in the world will be talking about this innings. I mean, this just doesn't happen. In terms of actually speaking about his batting, I feel like the whole time I've just been so mind blown. I'm struggling to put words together here, but obviously, yeah, there were a few edges over third man that went for runs, but it wasn't like he was just throwing the bat at everything and played a really lucky innings. I mean, he was playing so many different shots all across the field, from straight driving Siraj for 6 to stepping across the stumps and cutting and pulling the spinners. I mean, technically, it was really impressive. Even his ability to read the slower balls and wait on it before hitting it over the fielders. I mean, none of those shots were premeditated. He is watching the ball and he is playing to the field. Now, this comparison may sound really dumb, but it's almost like last video when I was talking about Jake Fraser-McGurk and things that maybe he could try, my expertise of playing heaps of B-grade cricket in my life. In terms of talking about not being so premeditated, not attacking every ball, playing the ball on its merit, it's like Suryavanshi has just done all of this. I mean, it was ultra aggressive, but doing it in a controlled manner and not premeditating every shot. All of his shots were proper cricket shots. I don't think he threw in one reverse or lap sweep, anything. He just went in, he played confidently, he played aggressive, but he just played proper cricket shots the entire inning. I think the biggest question when it comes to Suryavanshi now is how are they going to manage him? I think it was brilliant from all players. Obviously, his own team are going to cheer him on, but I really thought it was quite respectful from Joss Buttler and the rest of the team to actually clap him off the field, give him a handshake. It shows that obviously they see something special in him. They're going to try and nurture him. Obviously, he's just a young kid, but I think the biggest test for him is going to be all these raised expectations from him. Obviously, now he is just blown everyone's mind. 135 balls. I mean, if any player in the world scored that, it would be impressive. But for a 14-year-old to do this is just next level. I think the biggest test is how he manages this fame and the pressure that's about to follow him. And I just want to round off this section by reminding everyone that he has literally just turned 14. What we saw was probably a once-in-a-lifetime moment. I don't think we can expect him now to do this every single innings. We need to remember he is 14. He could literally do nothing for the next decade. He could have terrible form for the next decade and still be 24 with an entire career ahead of him. And I just hope fans remember that when ultimately he probably won't score big every innings. I hope we just don't pile pressure on this player because I want to see where he ends up. So let's talk about Rajasthan, because after a pretty modest start, they have just fallen off a cliff and gone on a 5-game losing streak. And honestly, if it wasn't for that innings, it probably could have been 6. I do feel a little sorry for Rajasthan fans because sure enough, they did get pretty badly done by Gujarat and Bengaluru earlier this month. But their last 3 losses have all been really, really tight games. I mean, they had the super over loss followed by a 2-run loss. And then, okay, I'm not even going to be nice. They completely choked that chase against Bengaluru. and lost from a very winnable position. So it's not like they aren't in the contest. It's not like they're getting smoked every match and there's just no hope. And games like today just show when they are playing well, they can beat anyone. They just aren't getting it done often enough. And this actually kind of ties back into when I was talking about Gujarat earlier and how they are so strong in terms of their top three, not only scoring runs, but hanging around to the end to ensure they see off an inning. Because I feel with Rajasthan, they just can't get any consistency in their batting at the moment. They're continuously getting really, really good starts, but every single game they lose wicket in clumps or they get really tied down during the back end of their innings. Now, it's easy to say in hindsight, but I can't help but feel letting go of Josh Buttler has really affected them in terms of having another quality batsman in their lineup that is so versatile and can do it all. I mean, he can stay in if needed, he can turn over the strike if needed, and obviously he can score quickly. I guess one massive positive is they've now found an opener with the ability to hit 35 ball centuries, and he's got about 24 years left of he's got 24 years of playing time in him. It's a little bit same with the bowling. I don't want to bash them and say it's been rubbish because there have been patches where individuals have bowled really, really well, and sometimes as a unit they've bowled decent, but once again are struggling to get any sort of consistency. They've taken the third least wickets with an extra game than most of the teams, and then they've also conceded the most runs, although they have played an extra game than most teams. But the signs are still there. You can see it when you watch it. I mean, Archer is a great player and he had that 3 for 25, but other than that, he is struggling. Faruqi as well has just been way below standards. Even Theekshana has struggled in patches as well. I mean, obviously these are batting surfaces, so I don't want to be overly critical of bowlers and their stats, but they just don't seem, as a team, confident in their bowling lineup, and they just don't seem to be bowling that well in tandem and probably letting extra runs leak. And I just think, yeah, they are really struggling to create pressure on batsmen. And it means that even if a bowler is bowling well individually, it just means the batsman can block them out, wait till the next over and turn over the strike there. But who knows? We saw what happened with Mumbai once they got a good win under their belt. So the exact same might happen with Rajasthan here. I do just worry about the consistency in the batting and bowling if they want to make it to the finals. So on to my final message and my biggest complaint about the Indian domestic T20 league this year. It's just actually been too good that I can't keep up. I mean, what are the odds that last week after Abhishek's innings that it ended up being the third best game of the week? I mean, game after game has either been a nail-biter or some record-breaking win. I mean, last week I was so sick that I couldn't make a video, but I think the attitude is I'm going to try to keep these episodes a little bit shorter so I can smash more out, because it seems that every time that I upload, a day later, that information becomes irrelevant because there's some other game where a 2-year-old has scored 600 runs and taken 14 wickets. I mean, there's only meant to be one game between me recording this and uploading. So if something is more impressive than a 14-year-old scoring a 35-ball century, I think I'll just have to retire this channel anyway and move into lawn bowls. So I'll see you guys over the weekend.